a great hero who ended the war of the Avalon Empire, and everything he has planned without any danger. The only thing that the Emperor now has to fear is Joshua. Lucia, the Agnes family's exclusive servant, his whole body is able to absorb mana. He can now utilize it in an instant. The Red Knight, out of curiosity, asks Joshua if he really is the Lord. The story begins. Joshua then meets his mother and embraces her, assuring her that he will now protect her at all costs. Joshua is glad to have received another life where he can live as the strongest spear on the continent. At the mansion, the Duke and Chiffon are engaged in a discussion. They discuss that Count Rebecca, an influential man of the empire, has visited them along with his daughter, Iceland Jin Rebecca, a genius who reached the 2nd class at the age of 9 and was blessed with mana. He believes Rebecca has come with the intention of wooing his daughter to young Master Babel. The young Master Babel has 3 years until his coming-off ceremony, and he already has Lady Cheryl, who is the daughter of the Pawnee family, which rose to dukedom with only their riches. The Duke is considering Joshua for Iceland. Chiffon is surprised as he says that Lady Iceland has received the mana blessing while Joshua has the mana curse. In the northern part of the Duke's garden, there is an old stone. Joshua is trying to get to the top and reminisces about how he used to often visit the place. He remembers how he discovered Luja here. He deliberately bit his hand to get some blood out of it, and as the blood dripped, he put some on the ground, and a circular energy formed around him. It is a source for him to get to the temple that possesses the Luja. As he approaches the temple, he realizes it has been ruined and that the Luja was once stuck here wrapped in chains. As he touches the Luja, he feels a force, and when he opens his eyes, he finds himself in an all-white place. Joshua hears a strange voice that says, "I'm not an iron rod, I'm the demon god's spirit." Luja. Joshua is confused and asks if the Luja he spent his previous life with was the demon god's spirit, which has also changed shape. "We have no time," says the iron rod. Joshua is told that, as time passes, the 2 energies within his body will eat away at his life. In order to settle the 2 energies, he requires stage 4 of magic spear arts. On the Egrant continent, swords are the greatest weapon for the knight, and spears are thought of as flimsy weapons. In his previous life, his magic spear arts were at stage 4. At 5th rank, he became the strongest knight in the empire. The iron rod assures him that he is with him and will help him. He takes the Luja, does certain stunts with it, and says that as long as he's near the Luja, he can use a certain amount of mana. He believes he will be able to easily defeat Van Britten with the amount of strength he will eventually unleash. Duke Agnes has arrived at the reception and encounters Cheryl and her father, a distinguished figure among the Pontier family's retainers. Cheryl seems to have a connection with the Duke, as she talks in a rather carefree manner. Meanwhile, the Count, Jin Rebecca, has also arrived alone with his daughter, waiting to meet the Duke. Iceland meets the Duke, and Cheryl is annoyed after finding out that Iceland is also present. She asks if Joshua had actually beat up the 3 centurions, and the knight's answer is that it was all just a rumor and that Joshua had a mana curse. Meanwhile, the Duke talks to Rebecca about Joshua and asks him to look after Joshua since Rebecca is more sensitive to mana than the Duke himself. Chiffon asks the Duke if they can first confirm if Joshua was really born with a mana defect. The Duke is somewhat annoyed as he says that they can't use a Crimson Knight on a 9-year-old boy. Chiffon convinces the Duke that he has someone under command who is perfect for this task. Cain, the knight who protected Joshua's mother, reported earlier to Chiffon that the centurions were attacking the Duke's wife. Chiffon is surprised and asks if Duchess Vanessa is alright, and Cain responds that it's Lucia Nim and not Vanessa Nim. Chiffon doesn't consider Lucia to be of any importance. Chiffon tells Cain that he'll spar with Joshua today to check if the young Joshua master really has the mana curse. Chiffon is worried about the fact that Joshua might take over Babel's place, which is why he manages to convince the Duke that Joshua is a mere young boy with no mana. Chiffon asks Cain to inject mana into Joshua's body to see if his body rejects or accepts it. If he opposes the man in his body, he won't be able to survive more than 10 days. Cain is surprised at how openly Chiffon supports Babel and is against Joshua. Cain meets Joshua and tells him that he has been ordered by the Duke to spar with him. Joshua is excited, but Cain says that he won't do it for real since he can't fight his own master. Joshua is offended and says that he shouldn't be taken lightly and that Cain should give it his best since his sword exists for that purpose. The Duke and others arrive. Chiffon tells Joshua that it's not a test but a concern from the Duke to confirm if he has any disabilities. The Duke's order tells Cain that it's not him that Joshua is going to fight with, but the young master called Babel. The Duke orders them to spar only with a wooden sword and not a real one since it's just training they are doing. Joshua is all set to show them his true strength and capability. He tells the Duke that he will only be using a stick, which surprises everyone. As the fight begins, Joshua strikes with his rod, and Babel is strangely confused. He goes on to fight with utmost strength, and Babel begins to cuss at him. Babel considered him weak and someone with no mana, but Joshua had shown his real strength, and also used mana, which Rebecca believes is a high level of mana and cannot be compared to that of Babel's. As the fight gets intense, the Duke stops them and is surprised at Joshua's level mana as well as his strength to have fought Babel with a mere stick. Everyone is shocked and confused, questioning how a concubine's son could have fought young Master Babel. The Duke orders Joshua to meet him personally, which agitates Chiffon and Babel since Duke never really calls anyone to his room. Meanwhile, Princess Cheryl is amazed at the skills of Joshua and says, "I will make him mine," portraying how things may start to get worse. The wife of Duke Agnes, Venus Pawn, asks Chiffon about the matters that happened earlier. Chiffon tells her everything he sees. He also tells her how Babel lost to Joshua, which angers her so much that she smacks Chiffon. She can't seem to accept the fact that Joshua is a mana user. Chiffon says that the Duke might take him to the capital, where he'll keep an eye on him. Chiffon believes that the Duke will announce to the people that Joshua uses rank C magic, and he might as well make him duel against the members of the Royal Knights. This makes Vanessa happy, as she will now use her conspiracies to make sure Joshua doesn't win. Meanwhile, Joshua comes to meet the Duke and questions him about who he really is, to which Joshua responds that he's the same young man he's always known. The Duke asks him if he's ever held grudges against him for overlooking him all these years, and Joshua says there's nothing like that. Joshua says he's very confident that the Duke will take him to the capital, mainly because he now considers Joshua the next successor and also to prevent any family brawls. Joshua tells the Duke that he will only be using a spear for all the training, which surprises the Duke. Joshua is confident that he will even be able to fight the 9 stars with the spear he possesses. Duke Agnes is one of the 9 stars and says he himself will be testing Joshua out. If he wins, his request to use the spear will be accepted, and if not, he will have to go to the academy for training. Vanessa has gone to meet her uncle, whom she believes would be of help in defeating Joshua and getting rid of him. She is all set to remove Joshua from her son's path. Joshua is at the castle and encounters Babel, who offers to fight him once again. Joshua asks if he's confident enough, and Babel, with his passion and desire to defeat Joshua, says he's all set to fight him. At the Great Imperial Palace, Marcus Van Britten had been informed of all the recent details regarding Joshua. Britten is unaware of the fact that Joshua is the Duke's illegitimate child, and once told, he admits he's envious. The man also updates him on the rumors spreading about Joshua defeating Babel, and upon hearing that Britten is shocked as a 9-year-old made the greatest talent of the Empire fall to his knees. Britten says that it's a blessing for the Empire to possess a child so strong and courageous. Britten says he can't go because of the wild dogs with their eyes wide open waiting for some sort of opportunity. He orders an imperial prince to be sent to the mansion to confirm Joshua's skills. Meanwhile, Joshua and Babel are caught in a fight again as Babel can't seem to accept defeat. Babel realizes Joshua has way too much power and strength and will be very hard to defeat. An aura explosion takes place, throwing Babel to the ground defeated. Joshua warns him to stay away from him and his mother. At the Agnes dukedom, Joshua is in bed, tired and exhausted. He says he used too much mana without resting. Someone is at the door, and as Joshua gets up to open the door, he meets Cyril. Cyril introduces herself and asks him to call at noon if he wants. She doesn't hesitate to enter, but is stopped by Joshua. Joshua shuns her and asks her to buzz off. At the Duke Agnes training hall, all the centurions have gathered and are apparently going to be trained by the young master Joshua. 2 of the knights ask Rawls where his friends Gord and Lloyd are, but they receive no response. Joshua asks all the men to attack him, which surprises everyone as they have already assumed that Joshua is weak and isn't capable of fighting so many men at once. Joshua asks Rawls to do the same, but as he refuses, Joshua threatens him, telling him he'd do to him what he did to the other 2 knights. Rawls falls to the ground, asking for another chance. Joshua asks him to draw out his blade, and if he does win against him, he'll forget anything that ever happened. As Rawls attacks Joshua, he uses mana power to fight back, making Rawls fall to the ground. Joshua wants the knights to not judge anyone's skills based on their appearance. All the centurions kneel down to show they admit and accept that Joshua possesses some incredible skills, regardless of his age. Meanwhile, Cyril is in her room, disappointed and sorrowful as she is shunned by Joshua. The Duke calls Joshua and asks why he had punished the centurions, and Joshua says he wanted them to know he has the same blood as the Duke just so they don't bother him and his mother again. The Duke is amazed at his extraordinary qualities and says he would have done the same or worse.
That's it for today. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.